All right. So thank you, Chelsea House. And it's getting a little warm in here, isn't it, Don?
I think so.
So glad I have my Melissa Galt fan to aerate us. Anyway, our first duet is with Melissa Galt and Roger Miles. Melissa, who has been presenting at the DX before, she calls herself a coach-sultant. She's an interior designer who turned business coach and author, and she guides and supports designers in reclaiming their time, realizing increased revenue, and building a design business that they love and that supports their way of life. Roger Miles is Melissa's duet partner, and he is an independent sales rep. Some of the companies that Roger reps are Chelsea House, Woodbridge Furniture, Alder and Tweed, Avenue North by Sylvester Alexander, and Davis Rugs. He focuses on the mid-Atlantic states. So, Melissa and Roger, it's your turn.
Hey, Roger, how are you?
Good, Melissa. So ironic I would be lead in with the Chelsea House vignette there. It was beautiful.
I know, that was beautiful, and the funniest part about it was right before that, the gift away landed on one of my clients.
Well, that worked perfectly. It's like we had it.
It did. It was well timed. So we are going to talk a little bit about the relationship between designers and reps, because I've been able to achieve some pretty amazing things in my design business because I had an invisible team of reps, invisible to my clients, but highly visible to me. And I feel that one of the biggest challenges we have today is that we aren't as much in a great relationship as we are in conflict with reps. And I think that's a problem.
Absolutely. And it is a relationship business, whether it's the relationship with your client, your vendor, your rep, your sub, whoever you're using. It's such a relationship driven business.
It really is. And I know that for me, I actually teach designers how to work more effectively with their reps. And one of the ways I do that is to encourage them to, when they land a project, one of the first things you want to do is, nail down those floor plans and start nailing down selections, and to get the help from the reps, because you, Roger, know your lines inside and out. Now, I know what lines you rep, but I don't know the depth of the lines the way you do. I don't know all those details. And so that really makes a difference in being able to be effective. And so to be able to lean on you and send you a list of, hey, I'm looking for this kind of sofa, I'm looking for these kind of lamps, and here's my price point, here's my dimensions, here's the style, and here's my deadline. And I think that that's a really good way to work together, not just calling and saying, well, I'm looking for a beige sofa, because that's not really very helpful, but to give you the detail and give you my timeline and let you go to work for that project. Does that work for you?
Absolutely. And it's so valuable to know what your end goal is, whether it's the deadline, the price point, the material you're looking for. Those things are invaluable when you begin your search, because I am a multi-line person, like many reps are, and trying to pull together those things. Just give us the basic parameters and let us go to work for you, and let us help you in any different circumstance. Like we talked a couple of weeks ago, Melissa, if you have a job in Palm Beach, Florida that you've done for your client, I may know a rep colleague if something's wrong, or they need a receiver, or they need something else. I have resources that I think sometimes that the designers that I work with aren't familiar with, and they don't think to ask for them. Some of my greatest customers ask me for everything, which I love because I want to be a resource for them. But, there's so many things that we can do to help, especially in this environment after, going through the last year and a half. Things have changed so dramatically. I find myself going headfirst into projects that a couple of years ago I may not have been involved in, but the designers need more help because they're so busy right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the designers are really busy right now, and having that rep or reps as a team on board as allies really, really makes a difference. And you do have an incredibly valuable network that we would love to have access to, people who can repair things, people who can facilitate things, receivers where we need the most. Not all cities have easy to find receivers. I know I was looking for clients of mine, designers that I'm coaching in Spokane, Washington just the other day, and I was having a really hard time finding receivers. So I've been kind of spoiled because Atlanta made that easy and Scottsdale's made that easy, but not all cities are like that. So to be able to rely on our reps makes a difference. But we also want to talk about what are some of the challenges that you face with designers, because we can be like herding tigers, and we aren't always the most reasonable creatures to work with.
It is a bit like herding cats sometimes, isn't it? That's for sure. I think some of the things that make it better is, we're in a world of electronic communication, and giving the facts electronically, though I love to talk on the phone, I love to talk, it's part of my daily, but to be able to give that information electronically and let me get back to you, or another rep get back to you with what their thoughts are, what their suggestions are, that type of thing. And for me, I work a ton by email like most of us. And to be able to keep that in my inbox, to be able to know I have to act and get Melissa or whomever what they need in a timely fashion, that happens. It's really the best way, and giving as much detail and knowledge as you need. Not just I need a coffee table. I'm looking for something round, 48 inches, dark finish, those type of specifications. As we laughed about in our last conversation via text, when someone calls up and says, "Where's my order?" I have to scratch my head for a minute and say, what line did you order from? What product? What are we talking about? I can't remember every product that was ordered last month, though I try, and sometimes I surprise myself. You just can't keep it all on the top of your fingertips. Being a multi-line rep, sometimes it is difficult, but I have all the information at my disposal. It's just a matter of the moment you call or text me, can I pull it up for my instant recall to remember you ordered a alder and tweed sofa versus, a coffee table from Woodbridge or whatever line I represent.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the other challenge is we tend to think that our rep is only our rep. We forget that our reps have 3,000 other designers across several states that they're working with. And we like to think, oh, gee, Roger's my rep. Well, he is my rep, but he also handles all these other designers. So we have to be thorough in the information that we're asking for, and thorough in the information that we're trying to have you verify. And I agree with you completely. I prefer to work with my clients on a basis of text or email, because then I have a trail. Yeah. And that trail is so valuable, because then it keeps you out of he said, she said, she said, she said, he said, he said.
Absolutely.
Ooh. I really rely on those digital trails and being able to look things up in email, occasionally in text. Scrolling back through a lot of text is really quite a headache. So I prefer email also. But the other advantage you and I talked about was that your designers particularly can reach you at any hour of the day. If you're not available, you'll get back to them. But you will often respond after hours, because you know that that's how they work, and you understand how crazy our lives are, particularly right now. And the digitalness makes that possible versus a phone call that's going to be interrupting an evening. If it's a text, if it's an email, and you're available, hey, you're on the spot. You're willing to step up. And that,
I tell all my customers when I meet them in High Point or at another trade show, I sleep between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. The rest of the time I'm yours. If I'm available, now if I'm at my kid's event at school or something, I'm not going to respond. I mean, the other night I was getting text during back to school night. I responded when I got in the parking lot. But, those things are the reality of the way we all work nowadays. I mean, it's constant because the business is so good right now. I can't say I only work between 8 and 7 or whatever. It's whenever you're working. I usually say to people, oh, I'm so sorry I have to call you on the weekend. I said, when you're working, I'm working, because honestly, you as a designer are making me money because I get paid on what I sell. So, it's a win-win situation for us both. If I can tell you something that's available that you can show your client that Saturday afternoon, I don't mind. I'd rather do it than while you're with the client rather than waiting till Monday, because I understand the sales cycle and you could possibly lose the sale because of that delay. And that's what I understand just from my prior experience, and how valuable that instant response is sometimes when you're trying to close the deal, whether it's only for one occasional chair. It may be the entire room to you. It may be just one piece to me, but I do see the value in the fact that you may be presenting the entire package, and that's how you make your income. It may be just on my Chelsea House lamp, but certainly it's important for you to get that to seal the entire deal.
Yeah, your piece might be the linchpin in my entire project.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really could be. But I also want to bring up, what are some of the things that you cannot do? Because we did talk about those. And to me, it comes down to inappropriate, not even false, but just inappropriate expectations from a designer. And one of the things we talked about was requests to put somebody's order in front of other people's orders, because that's not okay.
I know, and it does happen, and it's so funny. Can't you just put my 2 chairs in front of somebody else's to get them through the COM department or whatever? It really doesn't work that way. And certainly you wouldn't want somebody to do that to you, though I understand your client is hassling you, and they want it because they're having the bar mitzvah or the wedding or the shower or what. I've heard all those stories of why they need their product today. But unfortunately, as a rep, I represent you as a customer and I represent the manufacturer that I work for. And it's very difficult to try to go to bat for some unreasonable request. So I think, as a designer, you have to think to yourself, am I asking something that is reasonable that I would ask a friend? Because, I coin myself as the designer's BFF rep. I want to be your best friend, but don't ask me to do something that's beyond the scope of what I can do.
Well, it's not ethical. It's just bottom line, not ethical. And it's not an appropriate or reasonable request. And I think that designers really need to think about, our job at the start of every project is to set accurate, realistic expectations with our clients. And if we haven't done that, that should not become your problem. That's our responsibility.
And those parameters sometimes are lost. I mean, I think obviously everyone knows the state of the industry right now, the shipping delays, the this, to that, the things that we've experienced over the last 6 months to a year and a half. But certainly I get some requests that just leave me scratching my head some days, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to happen because there are designers who do not have relationships with their reps, have not established those pathways of communication, and are not setting accurate expectations with the clients. And that will really snarl things up on every level. But I always found that I was able to accomplish 2 and 3 times more in my business because I've relied on my rep team. And the beautiful part about my rep team has always been that they're paid at the back end. So it's not money out of my pocket, but it's a relationship that we've built together that they go to bat for me. And they will spend time searching for pieces for me where I don't have the time to do that, and bringing me great options that I didn't even know existed because I don't know the depth of the lines. And so when you get really clear at the beginning of a project and you time this out and you give your rep a chance to go to work for you, amazing things can result from that, both for you and for the rep. And I just think that's so valuable.
But that takes it right back to where we were talking earlier about the relationship business, because I really don't sell product. I sell a relationship. I sell an experience. I sell coming to High Point, but you sell the product to your client. I'm selling the relationship. And that's what I value so much with my clients. And I have some incredible relationships with some clients that, call me for things business related and not. And, I value those relationships because just like you have as a designer with your client, that relationship that they ask you what color toilet tissue or hand towels they should buy for their bathroom or whatever extreme example they go to. I get those same requests. They're just on a little different scale, but it's still the same thing. It's a relationship business.
It is a relationship business. And the beautiful part about that is even if you don't have a particular line, if I'm going to call and say, hey, Roger, I'm looking for this, you're going to come back to me and say, Melissa, I may not have that, but I know who does. And you're going to connect me because it's that kind of relationship. And I'm going to remember that next time that you're not only my go-to for these things, but you're my go-to, period. And that puts you in that BFF category, which is crazy valuable for all of us who are stretched thin, running hard, and sourcing takes such an inordinate amount of our time. But to do it with a built-in team of expert reps that really care about us makes all the difference in the world. It really does. We just have to step up our communication style, step up on our details, and really get specific about the help that we need because it's there for us when we ask for it. It's
Absolutely.
not there if we don't ask.
If you don't ask, you're not going to get it. I mean, it's just like when you go to buy something personally on the market. You're not going to get unless you ask for it. You really have to ask for that service. And generally, I find that it's gladly provided by my contemporaries. It's just a matter of, we're selling high-end goods. Expect high-end service, and you get what you expect. And I think it's really important to rely on the resources, and I would say don't be shy to ask within a reasonable parameter.
Now, Roger, I've got one more question I want to ask you, and that is, do you find that the manufacturers that you're repping, that they have a really strong inside customer care team that picks it up from where you've left it with the designer and they're ready to place the purchase order and they can just go to the inside team for that, or are they going through you for that one?
I would so much rather go through me because the inside staff in general cases with most of the lines I represent is stretched so thin because whether I'm dealing with 3,000 accounts, some of them have 9 and 10,000 accounts, calling them on a regular basis. I have my 3,000 that I can pull from, and I can definitely get you what you need a lot of times quicker than if you call the factory. Most of my lines have a back office system that I can pull up the same information live that they're looking at on their computer screen if you call the factory. Technology is so great now, with the rep apps and the back office systems that I can log into. I can see when your order is going to ship. Most people think the rep can't see that, but I can give you the same data that you're going to get. And then sometimes that leads into a conversation. Oh yeah, I'm looking for a yellow lamp or whatever, the designer needs that day. I'm picking hypotheticals, but those things, that's where I find it's more valuable to deal with your rep and to really bring them into that question. Whether it's a text, hey, when's my Chelsea House order shipping? Let me check and get back to you. I'll call you back and say, hey, Melissa, it's going to ship on Thursday, but did you need anything else? We happen to have that yellow lamp you're looking for, or whatever it is. And it just creates an opportunity that you don't get with the customer service because they've got 12 lights lighting up on their phone with the next 12 calls they've got to take. So they're just giving you the facts, man, which is sometimes what you need, but sometimes you can get a little more by having that conversation.
And that's priceless because to not have to deal with the inside of a manufacturer, even in their customer care, and be able to run everything through the rep, that's a real gift. Sure. So I truly appreciate that. And I think you're probably in the top 5% of reps out there. So we're very lucky to have you with us today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Real designers letting them think that all reps are like this, but maybe.
Well, I certainly try. And I value our friendship and relationship that you say that. I really appreciate it because I do try very hard to, get the information to my clients as quickly as humanly possible so that, because I know you have a job to do and I know it's all rolling downhill. It's coming from somewhere. Your clients are pounding on you to find out when the living room's going to get finished. And I can't hold that up for you because you need to get them what they need to get satisfied so you can get on and find that next client.
You're right. And one of the best ways to cement the relationships with reps is to meet them at High Point. Whenever you get a chance to meet your rep in person, always go for it. Now, a lot of reps are traveling. Roger, you do a lot of traveling. I know that. But at the same time, they're designers that you're not able to get on their calendar. And if they're going to be at market, you're going to be at market, and you're going to make that connection happen.
Absolutely. One way or another.
Yeah. Nothing replaces that toe to toe. I can't say face to face anymore because that's what we are right now.
You're right.
It really is. So any last tips you want to share on the best ways to work with reps?
Well, other than the electronic communication and meeting in person at the shows, take 1 hour out of every week or two and have a rep come in, whether it's me in my territory or some other rep. I did a presentation in Philly yesterday, and I have sold this account for several years, but I've never done a official 1 hour presentation with them. And they left just gushing because they're saying, I had no idea you had this. I was looking all over this morning for this darn dresser, and Alder and Tweed happened to have exactly what they were looking for. They buy a ton of Woodbridge from me, but they didn't know a couple little key factors that could allow them to sell it to more clients. But we had only done it electronically and in passing, and never a actual appointment. And I know time is precious and no one has time, but even if you say from 3:15 to 4:15 on every other Thursday, we're going to set a time with a rep to come in and give us a quick update, you'll be surprised as a designer what you gain from that.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. It makes a huge difference. It does.
Hi, guys.
Hey there.
Hey.
That was a great conversation. And what did you just told me, Don? What was the last thing you told me about Roger?
I need a rep like Roger. I use some of the brands you mentioned, Roger, so.
Yeah. So that was a great conversation, you two. Roger and Melissa, I know Don is newer in the business, so he probably doesn't remember when High Point would say no designers, right? Mm-hmm. So, Roger, you were, I'm assuming, in the business at that point, right? When it was
I definitely was.
And Melissa, you were too. So.
Oh, yeah.
How have designers changed your business, and in terms of how you communicate with them versus like a retailer? Because I used to sit in a space and I would hear reps bringing designers by like all the time, and they would say, "Oh, everybody's buying this," and I thought, "No, don't say that to a designer." Anyway, I'm just curious, in your mind's eye, over the years that now designers are part of High Point, what's that like?
Well, it's totally changed from my vantage point. I started in the early 90s, and I remember pulling my hair out. That's why I have so little when a designer came in my showroom, because it was like, as soon as they held up the fabric swatches and started holding it up to the piece, I ran, But what I quickly realized was, as we shifted after the recession, that designers are invaluable and they are the calling card of my business, though I still sell to furniture stores and I don't want to knock them. But the designers are the stock in trade of our industry right now, especially selling better end goods. I mean, the higher end goods have to sell through designers. That's the only distribution chain that I see as a viable alternative moving forward. Obviously, the stores are still there, but when I go to see a design firm and they say, "Tell me what retailer you sell," I say, "Tell me what retailers left that I can sell to, and I'll tell you if I sell to them." So, it has been a total shift, and the pendulum has shifted where designers are welcomed with open arms, especially in the higher end showrooms, because they are the stock and trade of the business.
Good to hear, right?
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
Melissa, I wanted to ask, you talked about onboarding new clients and setting that expectation for a longer lead time and all of that. What about clients who were already under contract before kind of these things happened, the early 2020 people? How are you updating them with information about what's going on now?
You've got to do a reset with them. You've got to have a sit down, a conversation, because I actually have now got COVID clauses in my letters of agreement and the letters of agreement that my clients use with their clients, that stipulate we are in a time of epic delays, labor shortages, material shortages. We cannot control these. Appliances are running 9 months plus right now, which is bananas. But you're so far better off if you are upfront, honest, direct, and set the realistic picture, even if you started at a time when we weren't dealing with that. In fact, especially then, you've got to hit that reset and reset the expectation and say, okay, we've had some changes occur. They're happening rapidly. We're in very uncertain territory. Here's what's realistic on lead times right now, and here's why. So you give them the why. You educate them into what's really going on in the industry.
Here's a question that we got in, which is, how do you engage a rep who hasn't been as helpful in the past?
Roger, you got to tackle on that one because I've got an answer, but.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, I have people that I talk to on the regular basis, and I have those that I see when they have a project. And you have to come back with, we may not have started off on the right foot, but I have a new client I'm working with and I really need your help, and this is what I need. And I feel that I work better with someone if they communicate directly. And if they tell me they don't like the way I work, and I've had customers tell me, don't call, I only text, I only email, whatever, then I respect that. But if we're out here trying to navigate, like I have 3,000 clients, and remember how Melissa hypothetically wants to work, it's hard for me to remember. But we're all human. If you tell us how you want to work and you remind us that maybe that last thing didn't go so well, let's give it another fresh start. I think it's going to put the ball right back in their court. What was your thought, Melissa?
Well, I've only done this a couple of times in the space of 30 years, but I have had to call the manufacturer and say, hey, we've just got a personality collision. This is not working for me. I need an alternative rep. It's not something I do lightly, but if there's a continual gap, a continual disconnect, and sometimes there are just personality collisions, they usually will put me in somebody else's territory. I'm not asking for anybody to leave territory and come see me. I draw the line there. But to know that I have a rep that I can contact and that we can form a relationship and we can get along, it's kind of a last resort. I like Roger's idea a whole lot better. But every once in a while, if there's an impasse of that nature, you kind of have to do that.
Well, Roger's getting some love. Just going to tell you who's sending love and woo! Heather McManus and Renee Schleicher, is it? Yeah, great talk, guys. Yeah, so.
I'll send them their gift cards later.
Very nice, very nice. No, this has been great. Is there, Roger, since you're getting, people ordering, designers coming to you, are you seeing any trends in what people are ordering? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, the trend is they're ordering what's in stock.
Yes. As soon as I asked that, I was like, oh, come back.
I saw your face drop when you asked it.
It's important.
Yeah.
Super important.
What's in stock? We'll design your home around that for sure.
It's so funny because it used to be I need this specific finish or I need that particular leather or whatever on a bar stool, and now it's like, what do you have? I'm going to make it work because I'm not waiting 9 more months and the barge stuck in the Suez Canal screwed everything up. What other excuse can I possibly tell people that have been waiting since January for something? So I think I see the biggest trend though going into the more designer looks, the real edgy, fun, contemporary pieces, or taking a traditional piece like from Woodbridge and custom painting it and doing something that has a totally different spin on it. And I see that more as a trend with the designers in my region.
Cool. And you are Mid-Atlantic, right?
I am mid-Atlantic, but I mean, I would come to North Carolina for you if you need me to.
John is North Carolina, yes. Well, Melissa, thank you for introducing us to Roger, because he's new to the designer experience community. So this was fantastic. So,
And thank
Roger,
you all
I'm so
for
glad
having me. I appreciate it. And thank you, Melissa, for putting this together.